This is my first official video. My name is D. Parker, and this is Bad Horse Art. This video is a very important topic to me and to a lot of other artists and creatives out here. This is something that I think a lot of people deal with, but especially artists. And I really think it's an important topic to discuss. And I never really hear a lot of artists or, I guess, psychologists or, for Christ's sake, self-help gurus or whatever really discuss this topic because it's so specific to artists and it never necessarily reaches that business world or that world in which a lot of psychology, philosophy, and self-helpy sort of topics will be discussed. Um, um, and I think a lot of artists, especially on YouTube or the social media space, they might discuss or touch on some of these topics, but um, they don't. I feel as though they don't necessarily go into maybe different ways to remedy some of these issues or the mechanisms in which these issues are composed. So I'm just sort of making this video to address that issue that I see. Um, but without further ado, thank you for clicking on, and I really appreciate it. And I really hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you get some sort of value from this video. But thank you, and you guys please have a blessed day and be safe out here. Bye. All right, here we go. So I want to talk about an issue that is important to a lot of people, but I believe that is really important to a lot of artists. I think a lot of artists struggle with two particular issues, um, and I think these two particular issues prevent artists from truly becoming and creating the kind of art that they are able to create and the type of artist they are able to be. Okay, so the first issue I want to talk about here is self-doubt. Um, and I define self-doubt as not believing in one's ability. I think a lot of people in general grow up in uh, with trauma and conditioning that creates self-doubt, especially for those of us who have been raised in turbulent households or having a rough time in school. For example, I grew up the only child, and I got picked on a lot. I was not particularly social at all, so that really became an issue, and I honestly got into a lot of fights growing up. Um, but I think those kind of issues, trauma and conditioning, can create self-doubt in people in general. But I think these issues are especially pervasive within the artist community. Um, and I think a lot of these things root from uh, feeling like you are not enough. Because, a lot of artists compare ourselves, or themselves rather, to other artists. And the other artists that they might be comparing themselves to um, might be decades into their art career, right? And this kind of on its face is not a good comparison,
right? It's an unfair comparison. You are comparing yourself to someone who has maybe been to art school or might have been self-taught. Doesn't really matter. And they are maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 years into their art career. Some might have even had art careers before you were born, right? So you're comparing yourself to them with these decades of experience, right? And it's simply not fair. It's not fair, guys. Stop doing that. I gotta stop doing that. And uh, I also want to speak about, um, in regards to not feeling enough, is not having interest in traditional careers like doctor, lawyer, engineer, accountant, etc. I've never really had interest in any of those careers, or a genuine interest in any of those careers, right? And I've always had interest in art and creative pursuits. And I feel as though a lot of artists have that same sort of not intention, but um, interest in just wanting to work with their art and pursue creative projects and whatnot, right? A lot of artists have this predisposition to be creative, right? Not saying you can't be creative in different careers, but I am saying that artists um, have a very unique vision for the things they want to pursue creatively, and are very authentic in that pursuit. And I think to remedy these issues that a lot of artists do struggle with in regards to self-doubt is the practice of mindfulness. And this is simply detaching yourself from your thoughts and not letting your thoughts define who you are. With this, I think you can begin to understand where your self doubt might be coming from, and you can begin to detangle yourself from your self doubt and letting it define who you are. You can't let your self doubt have authority over your personhood, over who you truly are, right? Over your artistic pursuits, or over your definition of what an artist should be, right? You can't give your self-doubt all that power. And I think, in a sense, with mindfulness, of course, it gives you the opportunity to understand why you self-doubt. And understanding why you self-doubt is loving your self-doubt to death, right? Once you understand your self-doubt and you understand its anatomy and how it operates and where it might be coming from and what triggers your self-doubt, I think that in of itself begins to rid and to extinguish the self-doubt from your mind, and you will not be shackled by it as intensely as you used to be. The second thing that a lot of artists struggle with is the loud, negative internal critic. And I define this as the voice in your head telling you you are not enough. And the loud internal critic is really created by or composed of two main components. That is your self concept and the survival strategy of that self concept. One of my favorite quotes by Tony Robbins is, "Your brain was evolved to survive, not thrive." And it is from my observation and personal experience in which uh, people survive in three main ways. That is physical, number one, which is pretty self explanatory and instinctual to most people, because bodily safety of themselves and the ones they care about is high on the list of their priorities. The second way is psychological, and the third way is emotional. Now, to circle back to the first one here, physical, I am not saying to uh, quit your job and to um, abandon your shelter and your safety and security and your food and all this. I'm not saying that at all. That's ridiculous. What I am saying is, it is your responsibility to carve out some time in your day, before work, after work, during work, however you can, to pursue your artistic goals. Right? I think something that really helps me with this is clearly defining what your artistic goals are and building a project for yourself to pursue and to see from beginning to end. Really helps with this struggle that I think we deal with, just simply managing a work-life balance and trying to build a artistic career on the side there, right? When you're really specific with what you want to see out of your art, I believe that it is easy to work around your work schedule, and different responsibilities you might have as a parent or any other familial obligations you might have. Okay. That way, you can effectively pursue things and not feel burned out or not feel like you're doing a lot, but you are essentially running in circles. Okay. The second way we all survive is psychological, and this is for the most part created by your environment. And this is you're pretty much not responsible for the default state of your psychological survival. But again, it is created by your environment, how you are raised, and certain dispositions, excuse me, that you might have. So that means maybe your genetics, your brain chemistry that is heavily influenced by your caretakers, and their attachment styles, your conditioning from your household or from school or from your friends growing up, your demographic and culture, and a multitude of other factors that create neurological pathways in your brain that form a self-concept that helps you survive and function in the world in the most effective and energy conserving way. The third way we all survive is emotional. This is very similar to the psychological explanation to survival. However, there is a physiological component to it. When you interpret something that happens to you externally, you implicitly categorize it as bad for you or good for you. So you ask yourself a question, and you are pretty much unconscious of this question, but this question is, Is this bad for my survival or good for my survival? This creates a physiological feeling in your body that your brain classifies as pain or pleasure. That classification impacts your psychology and beliefs about certain external stimuli, resulting in a sort of brain body feeling state we call emotions. So, with emotional survival, uh, things to consider are it is unconscious conditioning of running from pain or towards pleasure. And it is, for the most part, implicit and you are not aware of it. And something I think is a good tool for becoming aware of it is realizing when you are feeling something in a physiological sense. So the emotions carry a physical component to them. So anger feels like something in your body. You know, fear feels like something in your body, right? And these feelings inside of your body are physiological states. And these physiological states are feelings and signals uh, that are indicating you to pay attention and to uh, and they're giving you opportunities to become aware of them so that way you can work through them and understand where they might be coming from. And this ability to work through these certain feeling states are or is almost a superpower.
So to kind of wrap up this video, I'm going to summarize what we went over, and I'm going to give you a tool and a few prompts to kind of help you remedy this issue of self-doubt and the internal critic. So your internal critic and self-doubt is going to say and do whatever it needs to say and do to efficiently save energy and survive at the same time. So if this means that not taking your art seriously because you are afraid of failure and what that might mean for your survival in one of the three categories of physical, psychological, or emotional. And again, to reiterate here on physical, I am not saying to give up your shelter, food, and um, your job and whatnot. I am simply saying to plan out your artistic career and to work on that career on your free time and to do it effectively enough to get a lot of value and a lot done um, within that free time. However, these three categories of survival are simply survival mechanisms um, that you that help you survive, yes, but it also prevents you from thriving and living to your artistic potential. And a tool that really helps me with this is journaling, right? So, just to use a few journal prompts that I use sometime is number one, what? So, the what here is what triggered my internal critic or self doubt? Was it a thought, feeling, action, or event? Number two, why? Why did it trigger my internal critic or self doubt? Number three, the how. How is this internal critic or self doubt assisting my survival in what area? Physical, psychological, or emotional? And number four, thriving action step. This is essentially a action that you can take right now that will move you towards the artist you want to be and fulfilling your creative potential. As a quick example to make these journaling prompts a bit more efficient and a bit more concrete, um, something that I always, or an artist I really look up to and begin to question my own artistic ability is Alex Ross. If I see a piece of his work, um, and I think, wow, I will never be as good as, say, Alex Ross or a Frank Frazetta or um, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, or a multitude of other artists I look up to. So what's the point of me even trying to do illustrations and comic book art? I should just quit while I'm ahead, right? So the what there is my comparison to other artists, and this is a thought that is a value judgment. The why there is I admire their work and feel as though I cannot be as good or go through the pain of learning and having mastery over my craft. Number three, the how. This is helping me survive emotionally because it is a lot of emotional labor and emotional regulation to commit myself to learning my craft to be the best artist I can be, and not necessarily any of these other artists that I look up to. I should not be comparing myself to them, but I should be comparing myself to what I was yesterday, or say a week ago, a month ago, or a year ago. Number four, a thriving action step that I can take. I can purchase a class, a workshop, or a book from Amazon to gain a deeper understanding on aspects of my art that I have identified as needing improvement. And I will execute on what I have learned in this class, workshop, and or book uh, during my next artistic project or my next practice session. All right, guys, and that wraps up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really do appreciate you sticking around. If you stuck around this long, um, and look forward to more videos here. I'm gonna try to get these out at least once a week. My work schedule, school schedule is pretty weird, but again, I do really appreciate you clicking on and sticking around there. But have a great day, and keep practicing and be the bad horse.